Hello and welcome to Sci-Fi-Night. I'm your host, Sebastian Vendel Martinez, and this is the show where we take a look at some of the lesser known sci-fi and horror movies out there and try to find the right expectations needed to get the most out of them. So in tonight's episode, we're taking a look at a vampire movie that doesn't suck. I mean, it sucks blood, but, well, not a lot because there's kind of a drought, but like in terms of production, well, screw it, joke aborted. Daybreakers is a 2009 sci-fi horror film written and directed by the brothers Peter and Michael Spierig, whose name I probably mispronounced. They recently struck gold with Predestination, but they also directed the extremely fun and underrated zombie film Undead.
When I was a kid, we fucking respected our parents. We didn't fucking hate them.
Daybreakers takes place in 2019, 10 years after an epidemic of vampiritis has broken out and infected most of the world's population. I mean, yeah, it's not actually called vampiritis, but you get the point. With most of the world now being controlled by vampires, society looks very different from before. The world only runs at night, and the last remaining humans are being farmed for blood. The film stars actors like Ethan Hawke, who was in the previously mentioned Predestination, Sam Neill from Event Horizon and of course Jurassic Park, as well as the walking caricature himself, Willem Dafoe, who you probably know from Spider-Man, Shadow of a Vampire, and Boondock Saints.
There was a firefight!
In the film, the world's blood supply is running very low, and Hawke plays a vampire scientist trying to work on some kind of artificial blood to replace it, because if he doesn't, chaos will ensue. To make things worse, vampires who don't get enough blood start mutating into disgusting bat-like creatures that will even turn on other vampires.
First signs of physical deformities began with elongated ears. Mental functions such as logic, emotion, most parts of speech, then terminal.
What's interesting is that Hawke plays a vampire who feels very sorry for the humans and wants the synthetic blood so that humans don't have to live a lifetime of suffering.
You pity the humans, don't you?
So it kind of makes him a vegan vampire of sorts. Sam Neill plays his boss, who, like many bosses, is pretty satisfied with the status quo and the 1% controlling pretty much everything. So yeah, you know, just like in real life.
The majority of the population will be content with a blood substitute, yes. But there will always be those who are willing to pay a little extra for the real thing.
Neill's harsh attitude towards humans leads Hawke to come into contact with the human resistance, who supposedly have discovered a cure for the vampire condition.
You're a blood doctor. You can help us.
Help you how?
A blood substitute is a solution, but it's not a cure. There's another way.
So what sets this film apart from the rest of the bunch is that it's not just your run-of-the-mill vampire film. Usually there's just a pack of vampires running amok, but in this film, the entire world is basically run by vampires. So obviously this has changed the way society works completely in order for it to adapt to the vampire lifestyle. How the world works is super interesting. Something as simple as switching out mirrors for cameras since, well, vampires can't be seen in the mirror.
Linking homes and businesses right across the city. The subwalk tunnel network is the safest way to walk around during daylight. Subwalk.
There's also a lot of really obvious symbolism, as the rich vampires are completely satisfied with an unproductive, short-sighted solution for a resource that simply isn't sustainable.
Private investors are pulling their human stock from the Brownlee Marks harvesting facility. Many experts believe that the company will no longer be able to handle the national blood demand.
There's also symbolism in the way the vampires completely abuse humans, seeing them as a lower form of life, and that they basically have the right to use them as we want, similar to how most humans treat animals. Alright, so these smart themes are all very well and good, but let's get to what really matters. Vampire blood-sucking action. And this film definitely has some of that. The creature effects on the film were done by Weta Workshop, who have done the special effects for films like Avatar, the Lord of the Rings series, District 9, Mad Max Fury Road, the list goes on. So in other words, the effects of this film are really damn good, and overall I love the look and direction of the film.
Good.
Visually, the film is just really nice. There are some genuinely really gorgeous shots, and the actors all do a very solid job as well as bring the story along nicely. Alright, so with the foundations explained, what should you expect from this movie? Awesome visuals and effects. Alright, so forget these goddamn pretty boy vampires. This film takes back vampires to be bloodthirsty beasts. The film is filled with some flat-out gorgeous shots that feel like they belong to a film not about vampires, and the Spear Brothers were very involved with the technical aspects of the films, which really shows. Weta Workshop's effects hold up great, and while there's not a whole lot of bloodshed, they definitely don't hold back when the blood actually starts to flow. Great talent. I'm really digging the Spear Brothers, and they're definitely directors to keep an eye on. Overall, everything in this film is well done. The score by Christopher Gordon is great, the actors all do a solid job, and basically, there's much more talent in this film than what usually goes into your average vampire film, something we'll get to in the next point. A different kind of vampire film. I love the world that this film is set in, and it's truly unlike that of any other vampire film. The social commentary is great, even to the point of a new vampire US government declaring humans enemies of the state. The technology that gets developed is very interesting, and the cure for vampirism is so interesting that there's no way I'm going to spoil it. So in my opinion, this is one of the best vampire films since Låt den rätte komma in, or Let the Right One In for all you non-Swedes. It's like a breath of fresh air in a genre that's otherwise gone stale, and for all the gorehounds out there, don't worry, there's a massacre at the end that I'm sure will satisfy you. So this is far from a perfect film, as the entertainment value dips a little bit leading up to the finale. There are some minor issues with the script, some of the action is a little bit clunky, and it's definitely a film which is stronger in concept than on paper as opposed to in execution.
We have to be realistic.
But overall, I really enjoy Daybreakers. I'd say it's an underrated film that I'd recommend to any real vampire fans who missed the days when they were actually scary,
My prayers were answered.
as well as sci-fi fans who want to see a very different futuristic world. So that about does it for this episode of Sci-Fi-Night. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, you guys should leave us some comments below letting us know what you thought of this episode, the movie Daybreakers, and what kind of films you want to see brought up here in the future. While making your way down there, of course, help out the show, click the like button, click the subscribe button, show us some love, send us some money, give us your credit card number, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, I'm your host, Sebastian Mendel Martinez. I'm signing out.
Come on. I don't touch human blood.